go first to kick this off and thank everyone for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure for the Town of East Hartford to look forward to host these events so that we can bring critical information on small business, which is the cornerstone of our community, to the residents of East Hartford to help them grow, expand, and to provide services. I know there's a lot of speakers lined up here, and I want to thank our Sarah Morgan from the library, Amy Pelletier, East Hartford Connects, as well as the Development Department Director, Eileen Buckheit, and her assistant, Mike Daniels, for pulling this together. And a big shout out to Catherine Marks from the Small Business Administration, who has been a great ally for us in many other areas, and including now we hope small business. So thank you, of resources. That being said, I understand you have several people on here that are going to be benefiting from this. So I want to thank everyone and for the members of the Town of East Hartford for pulling together to make this a reality. And to our partners here who have come to help to provide critical information, thank you for being willing to be part of this virtual program to ensure that residents and people have access to information so that they can chart a path for themselves and small business. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor. We appreciate your warm welcome to all the small businesses in East Hartford. I'm just going to do a quick rundown of everybody that's on the call today, and appreciate the shout outs from the mayor. Obviously, everybody met Mayor Marshall Leclerc, who is our mayor, Town of East Hartford. Sarah Morgan, who is our library director. Thank you for all your planning. Myself, I'm Eileen Buckheit. I'm the director of development for the Town of East Hartford. Mike Daniels is on the call. He's the economic development coordinator for the Town of East Hartford. Amy Pelletier, who is the initiative director of East Hartford Connects. Matthew Puglisi, who's the Associate State Director of the Connecticut Small Business Development Center. Tammy Eldridge, Pre-Venture Business Advisor, also from the Connecticut Small Business Development Center. Catherine Marks, who is the District Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration. Moraima Gutierrez, who's the Assistant District Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration. Dr. Cliff Thurmer, Dean, School of Business, Technology and Advancement of Manufacturing, Goodwin University. Dr. Matt Connell, Program Director, Business Administration and Assistant Professor of Goodwin University. Melina Irwin, Program Manager of the Women's Business Center at the University of Hartford. And Tamika Mitchell, who is our representative from the East Hartford business owner for Perfect Pound Cakes on Burnside Avenue. So those are all of our panelists today. And I have 3 housekeeping announcements. Instead of telling you where the bathrooms are and the exits are, we will be holding a Q&A at the end. So please type your questions into the Q&A function, and they will be read aloud and directed to the appropriate panelists. Please take time to fill out the survey. It will help us understand our audience so that we can develop the best possible programs. The survey will appear on the screen at the end of the webinar and will also be emailed to you. If you complete the survey, we will send you a summary of the material covered in the webinar, a partial slide deck. And lastly, the Small Business Development Center is collecting participant information. If you prefer that your registration information not be shared with SBDC, please use the chat function to message panelist Sarah Morgan, and your information will not be shared. So those are my 3 announcements. Not to waste any time, because this is a packed hour, our first panelist will be from the SBA to talk about how their resource guide.
Thank you very much, Eileen, and thank you for everyone joining. Specific shout out to East Hartford for organizing this. We are just thrilled to be here with not only our SBA resource partners, but the community of East Hartford in itself. This is really shows support for our small businesses. As the mayor said, small businesses are so important. We like to say that small businesses are the engine of our economy, but more important, they are the fabric of our community, and therefore they are the fabric of the East Hartford community. I am Catherine Marks with the U.S. Small Business Administration. We have a field office in Hartford as well as Bridgeport. On the next slide, we are asking the important question to our businesses. What is your why? We know this is why you are here. Small businesses all start out with a dream, and every dream, then we turn the dreams into reality, and you are not on this road alone. Having a small business requires confidence, requires grit, and requires knowledge. So wherever you are going, the SBA is on the road with you, and we have your back. The SBA, we also are here to ignite the change and spark the action for your small business so that you can confidently start, grow, expand, or recover. We know that entrepreneurs need capital. They need access to capital to succeed. You need valuable resources. You need business know-how, and you need the right expertise at every stage of your business life cycle. So where you are right now, that is where we are going to help you. And we have a terrific resource partner network throughout the country. And I am particularly proud of our resources here in Connecticut, many that will speak today, and they will continue to speak in the series that we are going to have. These resource partners are approved and funded by the SBA. So when you need reliable advice to start and grow your business, we can connect you with those experts. Our resource network partnership extends beyond my very small district office to almost every state, every town in the state of Connecticut, where the SBDC has experts ready to help, and all of our other resources. We have served millions of our small business owners with these resource partners. And as we are dealing with COVID-19, these resource partners were the key to the success for Connecticut to get all the relief that we have had coming into the state. So who are our resource partners? Please know that if you choose to use your resource partners, you don't have to pick one or the other. You can actually use a collection of our resource partners. So SCORE, SCORE, this is the mentorship and advice from volunteers who already have the business acumen, who have the expertise. They are willing to serve their community and join you in your journey. So SCORE business mentors are throughout the state. We have 6 partners, 6 chapters in Connecticut. For the folks in East Hartford, you most likely would use the Hartford SCORE chapter, which is actually located in the Connecticut district office, and the phone number and the website is right there for you to connect with SCORE. It's www.sba.gov/SCORE. And we just went by one, so we'll go back one. There we go. And we also have our SBDC. They're on with us today. They are the Small Business Development Centers. Many people get confused. Is it the SBA or the SBDC? I like to say you get both. We work side by side. They are an extension of the SBA. The SBDC is right there in East Hartford, right there on Pitkin Street in East Hartford. And they have, again, Sarah, I don't want to use a 4-letter word, but I'm going to use it on this webinar. They are free. These are free counseling to help you. This is sponsored through the SBA. And I can say that any business, no matter what stage you are at, you will benefit from a meeting with the SBDC. And we also have a wonderful partnership with the University of Hartford, and they have a Women's Business Development Center as well as an Entrepreneurial Center. And they offer comprehensive training and counseling to help your business again at any level. And please don't feel that you have to use one or the other. They're all here to help. And that includes our friends at Goodwin that are going to speak. So many people really understand, again, the value of our small business and want them to succeed. We also have our Women's Business Development Council that has 3 offices through the state, but as we all have done, we all have pivoted during COVID, and they offer virtual events, again, comprehensive training. So please feel free to look them up as well. And to our veterans out there, we have some very specific veteran programs, and we have a Veterans Business Outreach Center in Providence, Rhode Island that serves our area. We also have some specific veteran advisors here with the SBA, but if you are a veteran, we are here to help. We know that our veterans are so important, and they bring a unique skill set to small business. So please reach out to the Veterans Business Outreach Center. But we all know that what businesses also need is access to capital, and that is one of the resources that SBA can bring to a small business. And we bring access to capital in a number of different ways. We bring through microloans and SBA backed loans. We're going to be doing another program specifically on lending. So I'm just introducing our SBA resources. We are here to help you start, grow, and expand. And that's what these business loans are here to do. The business loans can be anywhere from $500,000 to $500 to $5.5 million. And they can be used for most businesses' purposes, including long-term fixed capital assets, operating capitals. Some do have restrictions, but the SBA lender that you're working with will be able to help you work those through. And we want to, again, help you launch your business. This is where an SBA backed loan can help you launch and grow a business, repair a startup, purchase a small business, access revolving credit or working capital, purchase or renovate, expand facilities, purchase inventory, purchase land or real estate, and export a product or service. We could talk almost for a full hour about some of our export expertise. So we are hoping that this is just your introduction to the SBA, and that you continue to look at us as your resource, again, as you start, grow, and expand your business. The best way to go into a bank is to go in credit worthy. And what you want to do is have a business plan, understand your financial statements, and have your financial projections. Again, this is where all those business resource partners can help, including our friends at Goodwin College. And we also have a lender match, which is another one of our resources. It's on our website, SBA.gov/lender match. You can describe your needs, and you will have a lender get back to you within 2 days to help you get that loan. And of course, one of the main things you need to do when you talk to our resource partners and you get ready is to make sure that you are indeed credit worthy. So we like to call it the 5 C's. You need to demonstrate the strength of character, which is a sound credit report and steady payment history. You need to have an adequate cash flow in order for you to show that you can repay the loan. You need to have collateral to offer your lender in event that the loan is not repaid. And you need to have capitalizations, which are the business assets, the retained earnings, the owner's equity. And there are other outside conditions that will affect and repay your loans. These are market conditions, competitors, industry trends. But again, don't go it alone. To understand your credit worthiness, make sure that you talk to one of our resource partners. So at the SBA, we share as much information we can about all of the activities our resource partners are holding. So please do consider following us on Twitter at SBA_Connecticut and or signing up for our newsletter. And I'll put the link in the chat when I finish speaking. So that is probably the most condensed version that I could possibly do of all the resources here at the SBA. We are the Connecticut SBA. I'm Catherine Marks, thrilled to be here, and we are here to serve you and ignite the change and ignite the energy of our small businesses as we pull out of this pandemic and have a very prosperous, happy 2021.
We all want that. Thank you, Catherine, so much for your presentation. We know there's a lot more information behind all of that. Without too much of a delay, because we're very tight, the next speaker is Tammy Eldridge from the SBDC.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting Connecticut SBDC to be here with you today, and I'm delighted to provide you some more resources to piggyback on what Catherine has already shared. So my name is Tammy Eldridge. I am a pre-venture business advisor with the Connecticut Small Business Development Center. That basically means that if you have an idea, we can help you determine whether it's viable and whether what steps you would need to take to make that idea a reality. Next slide, please. All right, so the couple things that I'm going to go over today, because as Eileen mentioned, we are tight on time. So if you have any questions, please know that if we can't get to them at the end with a Q&A, I'd be happy to entertain them. I will be giving you my direct contact information in a couple minutes. So today I'm going to share with you the things that you need to consider before starting a business. These are important things that you need to think about that not everybody does. The second thing we'll talk about briefly is a business plan. It is dependent upon the scope of your business, of how much scope your business plan has to have. It can be very basic, just to provide you a roadmap, or it can be very involved so that you can get capital from a lending institution. And the last thing I'll talk about is the startup checklist, which are the basic things that every business needs to consider before moving forward. Next slide. All right, so prior to starting your business, these are things to consider. And I'll start on the left side. You want to do some research. So personal knowledge, how much do you know about the industry that you are looking to start a business in? So if your dream is to have a restaurant, but you've never worked in a restaurant, you've never had any sort of knowledge on how to manage a business, you might want to rethink that. So you want to choose something that you have an actual personal working knowledge of. You also want to have an idea of who else is doing this. So if you live in a town like I do, that has a plethora of pizza palaces, pizza restaurants, then the idea is that it doesn't mean you can't open another same like restaurant. What it means is you need to have some idea of what could set your business apart from everybody else's like business. So it's a good idea to know who's out there, who's doing what you already do, and how can you make yourself special and stand out. Another aspect of your research is the Connecticut SBDC research tools. So I'm going to encourage you once again to sign up for advising with us. These two, IBIS World and the online database ESRI, these are things that are available to us as business advisors, and they can provide information that can help you prepare an extensive business plan for getting that lending from a lending institution, and it also can just help you recognize, well, what other businesses are out there doing what I do on both a regional and wider basis. So the right side of this slide are startup costs, things that you need to consider and have in mind, so that you can be sure that you not only have the money to get this started, but you have the money to keep it running as you begin. So we'll start at the top and we'll go counterclockwise. So fees and licensing, there's a wide variety depending on your industry of what is required. I'll cover in a minute the couple that every business has, but the licensing is different for an auto mechanic than it is a home baker, and the list just goes on and on depending on what your business is. So it's important to know what those costs are going to be right up front. Land and buildings to the left. Are you going to have a brick and mortar space? And if you are, where is it going to be located and what are the zoning regulations there? Or perhaps you're going to skip the building altogether and you're going to have an online business. That's an option as well, but that still has costs. Again, to the left, bottom, equipment, materials and supplies. These things kind of go hand in hand. What is it you're going to need to actually carry out this business? Marketing, straight at the bottom. This is just because you have a website or just because you have a brick and mortar store, you've got to have some mechanism to drive people to your establishment. So you have to have something in place on how you're going to get that word out there. Operating expenses, these are the expenses that are incurred through normal business operations. They're things like rent and equipment and your inventory and your payroll. So these are things that you should be planning for in advance of actually incurring them. Living expenses. This is something that is oftentimes overlooked. People want to jump into a business and just assume it's going to make the money right out of the gate. If you can accomplish that, that's wonderful, but that's not always the case. So we need to help you figure out, how are you going to be able to afford the startup business while at the same time continuing to pay your rent or your mortgage for the place that you live, your groceries, your light bill, all of those sorts of things. So sometimes it's easier to start out with your business on a part-time sort of basis while you continue to work full-time, and then you eventually move or transition into a full-time business for yourself. Many businesses do not make the money that is necessary for the owner to have a full-time salary right from the get-go, and you need to plan on that. And then the last thing in the upper right corner, the working capital. This is the amount of money that your business has readily available for those day-to-day operations that we talked about in the operating expenses at the bottom. So next slide, please. So that business plan, it is important to a degree. It's your plan, it's your roadmap. It helps you figure out where you are now and how you're going to get to where you want to be. So some people create an extensive business plan for their own purposes. They just want to be able to have a roadmap, a guideline of what they feel is important and where they want to go. And it sort of lays out those step-by-steps of what they need to manage and what they need to have set up. Some people like just a very basic template just to kind of get them going, to think about the different components of what's important in having that business and all those categories that we just talked on the last slide. And then obviously, and that big bold statement at the bottom, if you are looking for assistance with financing, if you are planning to approach a lending institution, whether it be a community lender or a regular bank, a commercial lender, you're going to need to have a full business plan. And that is going to include financial projections out into the future for up to 3 years. And, you know, each bank is a little bit different, but basically it's a very much in-depth, like about a dozen pages, depending on the industry, again, business plan that shows your numbers, that shows when you plan to pay this or that, and what yourself, and how much the employees cost, and all of the various nuances of each individual business. So again, this is something that the Connecticut Small Business Development Center would be happy to help you with. We always start out with a very basic business plan template for our own purposes. Actually, you can go to the next slide, please. And you can see it there on the right. That's the business plan template that we ask all of our incoming clients to fill out. It's like a dozen questions. It's very basic. You know, this is what you have planned in mind for each of the categories. The idea is that it gets you thinking about what you need to be taking into consideration before starting the business. And so, you know, there are times where people don't know the answers to it. Marketing is oftentimes one of the questions that people don't know how to answer. So the idea with a business plan template, if you're filling it out for our purposes, Connecticut SBDC purposes, if you don't have a marketing plan, you can say, I need help in this area. So just know that this is very fluid. This particular business plan that you're seeing in front of you on the right really is the introduction to get you thinking and to get you into the advising system within Connecticut SBDC. So it helps you figure out and plan your strategy for building your business. And the full business plan really helps figure out what is at risk here. What am I agreeing to by jumping into this business? And this Connecticut SBDC business plan can help get you started. Next slide, please. All right, the startup checklist. These are the things that I alluded to at the beginning. There are 3 things that every single business, no matter who you are or what you're doing, has to do. And so I will not read the slide to you, but the 3 things are: 1, you have to establish a business entity. That can take many different forms. That's another reason why you should follow that first bullet point there on the left, sign up for assistance. We have, there are many choices. There are trade name certificates, LLCs, S Corps, C Corps, general partnerships, they go on and on. The idea is that you need to pick the one that's right for you. So first step, establish a business entity. Second step is to obtain your EIN number, your employer identification number from the IRS. This is also known as a federal tax ID number. It's basically used to identify your business, usually for tax and banking purposes. You'll also need one if you're planning to hire employees, but so it's just required. So 2 things: business entity, EIN number, and then the third thing is you take those 2 certificates that you got in step 1 and 2, and then go and open a business checking account. You'll need those. So everything beyond those 3 steps depends on the industry that your business is in. Most likely you're going to have to approach the Department of Revenue Services for a sales and use tax permit. Not all businesses need to charge tax on their services. So again, it's important to find out whether your business needs it or not. Do you need any licensing or permits? If you are a carpenter and you are looking to do work on people's homes, or a landscaper and you're changing the environment of their yard, these are licensing that is specific to your industry that you're going to need. And again, it depends on what your industry is, of what licensing that you need to get. Will you have employees? And the zoning regulations. We've got the East Hartford folks right here with us today, but there's different zoning regulations based on your town, based on the state. And oftentimes you'll have to get involved with the Department of Consumer Protection if there's anything that has to do on your body or in your body, food, home-based made cosmetics, et cetera, et cetera. These are all things that Connecticut SBDC can help you sort out and keep you in compliance with everything. So again, just to wrap up the slide, patent and trademark protection information, branding and business image information. All businesses should carry insurance to cover for themselves. Next slide, please. All right, so the takeaways for today is preparing. You just be sure to just really take a holistic look of everything that you want to do for your business, and just make sure that you're not jumping into something and then once you're into the middle of it, you realize that, oh, I should have taken this into consideration before I made the commitment. You do have options. We do have clients that come in, they have a business idea, they get going, and they realize this isn't what I want. And so we don't just shut it all down. What we decide to do is oftentimes pivot. We change the business plan, we make the change the nuances of what they're doing, and so that they can remain happy, because we want folks to not only open a business, but we want you to be able to earn a very lovely income doing so. If you're not making money in your business, it's not a business, it's a hobby. And you know that our purpose is for you to be able to grow and expand and thrive and love what you do and create a legacy with the business that you've created while fulfilling your own dreams. Understanding the market matters. And taking the time to know who your competition is, who your customers will be, so that you can be in best alignment with what is available to you in your community. Having numbers that work. Connecticut SBDC has a fabulous business tool called Bottom Line. We can help you figure out how many products you need to sell before to cover all the expenses that you need, so that your business, right from the beginning, you'll have a good understanding of the cash flow that your business will have. This will also assist you in filling out the full business plan if you're approaching the lending institution. Fail to plan, plan to fail. One step back that we actually often have at Connecticut SBDC, sometimes people just jump in and they start to try and fill out getting their licensing and setting up their business, only to find out they're not doing the steps in the right order, and that they have filled out something incorrectly. So just sign up for business advising with us. We'd like to hold your hand right from the get-go and move you through the process. Don't worry if you already have filled things out and they're not quite right. We will help you fix the problems or challenges that you are experiencing. But just if you're just starting out, definitely just sign up and we can walk you through those steps right from the beginning. And then of course, compliance goes hand in hand with what I was just saying. We want to make sure that you have all the permits and licensing that you need, that you have all the resources available to you, so that you are on the up and up. Next slide, please. So how do you find me? Here you go, right there on the left, connecticutsbdc.uconn.edu. You see the slide to the right. All of our business pages, including the front, has that lovely big red button in the upper right-hand corner that says no cost business advising. So Catherine used the 4-letter word free. We use the 5 letters of no cost, 6 letters of no cost. So just click on that button and you will come to the page that you see there. If you are brand new to business and you are looking for that pre-venture advising, click the new to business. And if you're an existing business that needs some help with marketing or capital or COVID advising, whatever it happens to be, just click the red button on the right, existing business, and you'll be assigned to the appropriate advisor who can best fit your needs. Next slide. These are just a vast array of all of the services that Connecticut SBDC, it's like all this and more. So these are the things that we can help you with. If you have any questions, just reach out. We can most likely help you. And if we personally can't help you, we can refer you to another agency that can. And the final slide, please. And that's me, Tammy Eldridge. If you sign up for business, or excuse me, when you sign up for business advising at the Connecticut SBDC's website, it'll ask you a few basic questions. And you'll get a telephone call from our intake specialist, Roderick. And when you talk to him, you can certainly ask for me by name, or you can speak with any of our advisors on our pre-venture team. They're all fabulous and all have great industry experience and are willing and very happy to help you out. So there's my email address and my telephone number if you have any questions specific for me after this webinar. So thank you again for inviting me and including me today. And I turn it back to you, Elaine.
Thank you. You can also type your questions in the chat. Next, we're going to have a short video from the Secretary of State's office, Chris Drake from the Secretary of State's office.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Drake. I'm the Director of Business Services Division for the Connecticut Secretary of the State's office. I'm going to cover 4 things quickly for you today. First, I'm going to tell you what our office does. Second, I'm going to go over the biggest decision usually in a small business is startup process is whether they're going to form an LLC or a trading. I'm going to cover forming an LLC if that's the route you decide to take. And finally, I'm going to touch on the new business.ct.gov. So first things first, as I said, I'm the Director of the Business Services Division for the Connecticut Secretary of the State. Our business does 3 primary things. First and foremost, we register businesses, both foreign and domestic. When we use the term foreign in this context, we mean a business that is formed in another state or another country that it's transacting business here in Connecticut. And when we use domestic here, we mean a business that is formed. Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Drake. I'm the Director of Business Services Division for the Connecticut Secretary of the State's office. I'm going to forming an LLC if that's the route you decide to take. And finally, I'm going to touch on the new business.ct.gov. So first things first, as I said, I'm the Director of the Business Services Division for the Connecticut Secretary of the State. Our business does 3 primary things. First and foremost, we register businesses, both foreign and domestic. When we use the term foreign in this context, we mean a business that is formed in another state or another country that it's transacting business here in Connecticut. And when we use domestic here, we mean a business that is formed under the laws of the state of Connecticut. There are 6 primary business types that form with us. There's a stock corporation, non-stock corporation, that's nonprofits, limited liability companies, limited liability partnerships, limited partnerships, and statutory trusts. I'm really only going to touch on LLCs today because that is, by and large, our most prevalent filing and the one that you would probably be considering. The only caveat to that would be if you are considering starting a nonprofit business, then you would want to form a non-stock corporation, which is a slightly different filing, but the process is largely the same. Our office also does UCC filings and other lien filings. Those would come up in the context of business loans. So quite often when a business is starting up, it needs capital and it borrows money from a bank. If you put up personal property as collateral for that loan, then the bank will likely file a UCC lien with our office, securing the loan and the property that you've pledged as collateral. It works very much like a mortgage, but with personal property. That is property that moves around. That's not related to real estate. And then we also provide a large amount of customer support. So our office is available by email and by phone. Our email goes into a customer support ticketing system, and we respond to over 500 emails and calls a week. Sometimes in our busy season, it can be as many as 1,500 calls and emails a week. So we get a lot of questions from people like you that are starting businesses, and we do our best to answer all those questions timely. So let me just cover quickly LLC versus trade name. So as a new business startup, your first decision is going to be whether I want to incorporate as a limited liability company or do business under my own name, which is called a trade name, sometimes called a doing business as or a sole proprietorship. So let's cover limited liability companies first. Limited liability company is a separate business entity. So it is separate and distinct from the people that own it and operate it. You start to establish your own credit line under that LLC. It can sue and be sued. It takes on many of the characteristics of a person. So when you're forming an LLC, you are forming something that is separate from you. The pros to doing so are liability protection, first and foremost. It's in the name. So if you run your LLC correctly and you are sued, your personal assets, those are the assets that you own personally, your house, your car, your bank accounts, are protected. And the only assets that are available during that lawsuit are the assets of the LLC itself. The other big pros to forming an LLC is it establishes credit, and so you can open a bank account, you can get a loan under the LLC. Usually, early on in the LLC's life, banks are going to require you to sign something called a personal security or a personal guarantee. That's pretty typical, but LLCs that have been established for a long time can sometimes get loans in their own name. But they certainly can open bank accounts and do other financial transactions in the name of the LLC, not just the person. And I think some people think that LLCs project a level of professionalism beyond that of a trade name or DBA. Some of the cons of LLCs are that it is more expensive to establish and maintain. And if you're doing it right, you may need legal assistance in establishing it. Now let's take a look at trade names. So a trade name is simply you doing business under another name. That's all it is. It's one person doing business as something else. The pros of a trade name are that it's cheap to file. It's about $10 right now, and it's filed locally. It's filed with your local town clerk. And I should mention that a trade name, that's the name in Connecticut that we give legally to this process, but some people will call it a sole proprietorship or a DBA. They're all the same thing. It all means one person doing business under an assumed name. So the pros are that it's cheap and you can file with your town clerk. The cons are that there's no liability protection. You are doing business as yourself. You're personally responsible for the activities of the business. And depending on which bank you use, the requirements may differ, but the bank may not let you actually open up an account under that trade name, or it may require you to co-sign on the bank. So you might not actually be able to open a bank account under that name. And again, that's going to sort of depend on the internal bank's rules. And here's a big one that this is intended to be for one person hanging out their shingle and doing business. Sole proprietorship, DBA, trade name, whatever you want to call it, cannot have employees. If your business is going to have employees, then LLC or one of the other business types I mentioned are going to be your only avenue. So if you decide to file the LLC, then the process is reasonably straightforward, but there is a cost. So the document that you file is called a certificate of organization. It's going to cost $120 for the initial filing. It can be filed online, and I definitely encourage everyone to file online. It's quicker, it's more efficient. It prevents you from making errors that will end up getting rejected. And the other big pro is that your certificate of organization will always be available to you online for free. So if you ever need it for future transactions, you can grab it for free online. You'll also need, when you file your certificate of organization, to have researched on our website whether the business name you want is available. The LLC name has to be unique within the state of Connecticut. And so you have to first see whether the business name you want to do business under is taken by somebody else. We go through the name clearance when you file online, so the system will tell you whether the name is available or not, but just so you're not disappointed, it makes sense to do a search beforehand. You will also need a business address. If you're planning on doing business out of your home, then it's going to be your home address. We're going to require you to give us a street address for the business. And if the only street address you have is your house, then you have to put that address down. But if you have another address, street address, then you can put that down. And finally, you're going to have to appoint a registered agent for the LLC. The registered agent is the person who is served with lawsuit papers or other legal papers if and when the LLC is sued, or if and when the legal process needs to be served on the entity. If you are a Connecticut resident and you are 18 years or older, you can appoint yourself as an agent, as an individual. There are other companies out there that will be your registered agent for a fee. I'm not recommending those or dissuading you from choosing those. I'm just saying that that is an option if you want to use a completely objective third party, and there are plenty out there if you Google search them. Finally, you should know that if you do form an LLC, the requirement is that you file an annual report with our office every year. You do so online, and we'll give you a reminder. It happens every year in March, and the cost for the annual report is $80 a year. Finally, I just wanted to touch on the new business.ct.gov. Right now, our office is filing in an old system called Concord, and we will be doing so for the next 2 months. But after July 1st, we will be moving over to business.ct.gov. And what I want you to do when you get over to business.ct.gov is click on the Start Your Business link. Underneath the Start Your Business link, there's going to be an option called Business Startup Checklist. You should all go through that process. And what it will do is ask you a series of questions about what it is you want to do. And it will create for you a custom roadmap on how to start your business. So we'll go through some of the things I've already been through today, but a lot of the other things that I don't have time to cover. So I encourage you all to go to business.ct.gov. It's currently available. And go to Start Your Business and do a business checklist for your particular situation, and let us know how you like it. Finally, if you need to contact our division, the best way by far is through email, and our email is simple. It's crd@ct.gov. That email goes into a help desk ticketing, and my staff is responding to those both remotely and from the office, and we have a very good response time. So believe it or not, email certainly is the most efficient way to get a hold of us. If you do need to call us, this is our number, 860-509-6002. Appreciate you listening to me today, and please reach out if you have any other questions about forming your business. Thanks very much.
Okay, great. Lots of good information there. Next, the Town of East Hartford is going to talk about its land use process. I think Tammy and maybe Catherine had both brought up checking with your local zoning, planning and zoning offices, and Mike Daniels is going to talk about how East Hartford specifically handles that. So go ahead, Mike.
All right, thank you. So we have a process in East Hartford that not all towns offer, but we think that this makes it easier for you to get started if you're looking to locate a business somewhere in the town. And so we call it a land use group, and we have meetings to help you get started if you are opening a business for the first time and you're going to have a location, or if someone is moving their business here, or if they have a business here and they are looking to expand it, maybe build an addition. And so this applies to anyone. If you're just starting out and maybe you're having a small coffee shop, we would start you here, or for big corporations that come to town, or going to build a factory, we also start with this process. So if we go to the next slide, So what is this meeting? As I say, it's for anyone who's looking to start here in East Hartford, and it's free and informal. So what we want to do is have this at the very beginning of your process, before you sign a lease or before you start renovating a space, and make sure that everything is taken care of and you know what the requirements are going to be. Because we don't want you to accidentally get to a point where you're invested, but you learn that the use you want to do is not going to be permitted in the location you want to do it, or that you need certain permits. And so what we want to do is bring together as many departments as possible, so that you don't have to jump around trying to figure out, who do I need to talk to? What applies to me? What permits do I need? We want to have this introductory meeting with you, so that we can have everyone in the room at once, or currently everyone on a virtual meeting at once. And they can hear what you're going to do, and they can start to direct you towards what your first steps are going to be. So these are the departments who attend. We have the development department that includes me, and it includes our town planner. And he'll help you determine if something's going to be permitted by zoning. So there are different zones in town. Obviously, you want to have a factory in a residential neighborhood. So there's zoning, and we want to figure out if the use that you want to do is going to be permitted. We have the engineering office. They'll deal with if you're building a parking lot, anything that you would do outside, and if that's going to be permitted in regards to wetlands or in regards to drainage. Our building inspections and permits department will be there. They also do deal with zoning, and they'll help you with building permits if you're going to need an architect to draw up plans. So we don't require you to have plans already. It can be very informal, but they'll let you know if you're going to need it, and what electrical permits or plumbing permits you might need. Our health department will be there. If you have a restaurant, if you're going to be selling food, they'll want to be able to talk to you about what you're going to be able to, what you're going to need to do that safely. Our fire marshal will attend. He'll work closely with the building department if you're doing renovations to make sure that everything is safe and up to the fire code. And our police department will attend to see if there are any security concerns or anything else that applies to them. And go to the next slide. So if this interests you and you'd like to set up a meeting, we have them typically on a weekly basis as needed. And I would ask that before the meeting, you submit some information to me so that all those departments I just went through would be able to review it before the meeting and prepare what kind of questions that they want to ask you. So we ask for a description of your proposal. Just tell us about what you want to do. If you have hours of operation that you can tell us, if you're going to hire employees, if you're planning renovations, just describe for us what you want to do. And then a floor plan. If you have the interior of the building, show us how you want to set it up. And again, this can be very informal at this point. It doesn't have to be set in stone. You can just draw up what you're thinking. And then if you're doing anything outside, such as a parking lot, do the same thing for outside with a site plan. So as I say, we typically do this weekly. If you submit this to me, we'll set you up for probably the next Thursday, and we can work around your schedule if needed. And one thing to note is that you want to have a space in mind. You want to have a property in mind when you come to us. So you wouldn't show up at the meeting and say what you want to do without having a certain location that you want to see if it's going to work in that location. And if you don't have a location yet, you want to work with a commercial real estate agent to try and find a space that makes sense for you. And then once you come to the land use group meeting, we can let you know if what you want to do is going to be permitted there, and what the steps are going to be to help you get there. The next slide. This is my contact information. If you'd like to set up a meeting, or if you just want to know more, if you're not sure if you should go through this process, let me know and we can figure it out. My phone number and email are there on the screen, or you can go to our website where we do have a brochure with all of this information that I just presented that you can reference.
Thank you, Mike. So that was a really quick summary of what we do here on a daily basis. Next, we're going to have a summary given to us by Goodwin University about their small business resources.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're glad to be a part of this. We think there's a lot of great things going on here in East Hartford, and the greater East Hartford area, of which Goodwin University is proud to be a part of. And our commitment over here at the School of Business Technology and Advanced Manufacturing has been and continues to be to help small businesses and those people with great ideas to start a business or to work better in business. And we have a host of not just only academic activities, but also certificates and pieces that folks can come and learn with. And I have my colleague and distinguished director of our business administration program, Matt Connell, with me today. And Matt is a true entrepreneur himself. We won't go through his long list of different startups and things that he's done throughout his career, but he has initiated our entrepreneurial network here at Goodwin. And Matt, I see you're with me. You want to talk just a little bit about that, because we're going to be able to expand on this later, but just to talk a little bit about what we're doing with this. And if you can throw up that next slide for us.
Sure. Thanks, Cliff. So real quickly, so at Goodwin, as Cliff said, we really do believe that entrepreneurship is the foundation of communities. Small business, as our colleague at the SBA mentioned, small business ownership really is the foundation of communities. And so we are geared and ready to help individuals kind of learn the down and dirty of how to start a business. Everything from an 18 credit certification that takes you through management techniques, marketing techniques, accounting techniques, writing that first draft of your business plan, a shorter business plan than maybe the SBA would be looking for, but more along the line of what Tammy was referencing, to a 30 credit certification into our associates and our bachelors. But what we really wanted to just mention is that we are not just about the academics at Goodwin. We are about creating a network of support for our students in their entrepreneurial journey, which would be to be connecting them with resources such as all the amazing resources that we're learning about here today on this call, as well as other resources to make sure that entrepreneurs are connected. It can be lonely at times when you're on the cliff with one leg hanging out off of it, trying to get your business off the ground. And so we are here not just to help teach you the fundamentals of starting and running a business, but also to support you along that journey. As Dr. Thurmer said, we will be presenting a little bit more in detail next week. So I will leave it at that, but I just wanted to reiterate Goodwin's commitment to entrepreneurship to the East Hartford community, and to our belief that it's not just about academics, but it's really about the collaborative network of support. So thank you so much for allowing us to speak.
Thanks, Matt. I think you summed it up beautifully for us. We are committed to East Hartford businesses, and not just those businesses that are starting up, but well beyond that as well, with the support and resources. So between the SBA, the Town of East Hartford, the Connecticut Small Business Development Corp, all of these folks, there are so many resources to help you be successful. And at the end of the day, that's what everybody here wants, for you to be successful, chasing your dream and making it a reality. So thanks for letting us participate. And Eileen, back to you.
Thank you so much. Actually, that's an important point. Is part 2 is next week. So that is the last bullet on that slide. So if you're joining us next week, you will hear more from them. So that is next Tuesday at noon. And next we have one of our local businesses here in East Hartford, Tamika, to talk about, from Perfect Pound Cakes, to talk about her experience on starting a small business.
Hello, everyone. So Perfect Pound Cakes is a family operated business, and we specialize in assorted flavored pound cake. The town of East Hartford basically helped our dream become a reality. We had a basic business plan, and we found a specific location. And at that point, we went to the town for guidance. My husband, Chad, basically reached out to the town, and he set up the meeting on a Thursday with the land use committee. And they basically guided us along the way and told us exactly what we needed to do. you want to touch?
Using the land use committee was very helpful. It eliminated a lot of roadblocks, a lot of wasted money. Going back and forth with Michael, with Bruce from building and inspection, permits and inspection. The team was amazing. It just helped having these guys come in, having the fire marshal come in during different stages of the build in here was monumental. It just saved a lot of time, a lot of aggravation. It was a lot of hard work, but well worth it. And working with these guys, it was a great opportunity, to be honest with you. It was easy. It was very informative. And again, anyone looking to start a business in East Hartford, definitely is worth their time to go meet with the land use group. We scoped out another location prior, had these guys come in. They told us it wouldn't work. So, luckily we did, instead of getting trapped into an agreement with the owner of another location. But it all worked out how it was supposed to. I mean, again, every step of the way, they were very helpful and gave a lot of information.
Thank you so much. See, we don't bite, so feel free to reach out. We can definitely make your life easier. Actually, everybody that spoke today is here to make your life easier. So, and Tamika, I think that to your husband, I think you just had a anniversary, right? So
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on that. So example of a successful small business that we're very proud to have here in East Hartford. And we do stay in touch as much as we can. So just a reminder, if anybody has any questions for us today, you can put it in the Q&A or the chat. If not, I just mentioned it a minute ago, but a reminder that the part 2 of this series is next Tuesday, also at noon. And we will have different speakers with some other information for you on your small business. So if there are no questions, I think we're going to wrap up for today, and we will see you all next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for attending.
Thank you so much.